Silence is a strategic advantage because it removes unnecessary interference from your path. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop inviting opinions that have no responsibility for your results. Most people give others access to their vision too early, and those voices dilute certainty before momentum has a chance to form. Silence keeps your direction pure and your decisions self-governed. Operating quietly allows you to conserve energy that would otherwise be wasted on justification. Every explanation costs mental focus, emotional effort, and time that could be invested in execution. When you move in silence, your energy is no longer leaking outward. It stays contained, sharpened, and available for the work that actually moves your life forward. Silence creates psychological leverage. When people don't know your next move, they cannot interfere with it. Unpredictability becomes protection. You are no longer reacting to expectations or defending incomplete plans. You are acting from intention rather than pressure, which keeps your actions clean and deliberate. Working silently forces internal accountability to replace external validation. Without applause or feedback, the only metric left is performance. This builds discipline because progress becomes personal, not performative. You begin to measure success by effort applied and standards upheld, not by attention received. Silence strengthens focus by reducing distraction. Conversations invite comparison, doubt, and emotional noise. Quiet eliminates those variables. In silence, priorities become clearer and decisions become faster because there is no audience to impress. Focus deepens when attention is no longer divided between progress and perception. There is power in letting results arrive before explanations. When you stay silent, outcomes become your introduction. Success no longer needs persuasion because evidence does the talking. This shifts your position from someone seeking belief to someone commanding recognition. Silence builds emotional control. Without constant communication, you learn to regulate reactions internally instead of releasing them externally. This develops maturity, patience, and composure under pressure. Emotional discipline becomes easier when you are not broadcasting every thought or feeling. Moving quietly also accelerates learning. In silence, you observe more, listen more, and process more deeply. You notice patterns others miss because they are too busy talking. Awareness expands when noise is removed and better decisions follow naturally. Silence removes the need to rush. When no one is watching, there is no pressure to appear successful before you are ready. You can refine, adjust, and strengthen without embarrassment or distraction. Growth becomes stable instead of fragile. Over time, silence reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who announces intentions and start seeing yourself as someone who produces outcomes. That internal shift changes how you think, how you act, and how consistently you execute. Focus determines the quality of results because attention is the force that gives direction to effort. When attention is scattered, effort loses precision and outcomes become inconsistent. Whatever you concentrate on repeatedly begins to shape your skills, your decisions, and your standards. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with full intensity. When focus is divided, progress slows even if activity increases. Many people stay busy yet move nowhere because their attention is fragmented across too many priorities. Deep focus eliminates waste by aligning time, energy, and intention toward a single objective. This alignment transforms ordinary actions into high-impact execution. Sustained focus sharpens thinking. When the mind is fully engaged with one task, clarity increases and errors decrease. Problems that seem complex under distraction become simple under concentration. Focus allows you to see connections, anticipate obstacles, and make decisions with confidence rather than guesswork. The quality of results improves when focus becomes disciplined rather than emotional. Emotional focus shifts with mood, motivation, and external influence. Disciplined focus remains steady regardless of how you feel. This consistency is what separates temporary effort from reliable performance and predictable outcomes. Focus also determines the depth of skill development. Mastery requires repetition without distraction. When attention is fully invested, learning accelerates and competence compounds. Shallow focus produces shallow results, but deep focus creates expertise that cannot be easily replicated. Clear focus protects momentum. Each time attention drifts, momentum weakens and must be rebuilt. Focus keeps progress continuous by preventing unnecessary resets. This continuity is what makes growth feel effortless over time, even though the work remains demanding. When focus is strong, priorities become non-negotiable. Distractions lose their appeal because they no longer align with your objective. This creates decisiveness and eliminates hesitation. The ability to say no strengthens results because it preserves energy for what truly matters. Focus also influences confidence. Confidence grows when you see yourself finishing what you start and improving with each attempt. Concentrated effort produces visible progress, and visible progress reinforces belief. This loop elevates both performance and self-trust. The environment responds to focused individuals differently. Opportunities appear clearer, and resources become easier to identify because the mind is trained to recognize what supports the goal. Focus acts like a filter that removes noise and highlights relevance. Over time, focus shapes identity. You stop identifying as someone who tries many things and start identifying as someone who completes, refines, and excels at specific pursuits. That identity shift raises the standard of results you expect and consistently produce. Private discipline creates public victory because success is forged long before it is displayed. What people celebrate on the surface is the visible outcome of countless unseen decisions made in isolation. Every habit practiced when no one is watching strengthens the structure that eventually supports recognition. Victory is never accidental. It is assembled quietly through repeated acts of self-control. Discipline in private builds reliability. When you train yourself to do the work without supervision, you eliminate dependence on motivation or external pressure. This reliability becomes your advantage because it allows progress to continue regardless of circumstances. The world only sees consistency, not the internal effort required to maintain it. Private discipline sharpens standards. Alone, there is no applause to soften expectations or excuses to justify shortcuts. You are forced to confront whether your effort matches your ambition. This internal honesty raises performance because the bar is set by commitment rather than convenience. The repetition of disciplined behavior compounds over time. Small actions done daily in private accumulate into skills, strength, and confidence that cannot be improvised in public. When the moment arrives to perform, preparation eliminates hesitation. What looks like ease is actually familiarity earned through discipline. Discipline in isolation also builds emotional control. You learn to manage resistance, boredom, and frustration without external reinforcement. This emotional mastery becomes critical under pressure, allowing you to remain composed when visibility increases. Public environments reward those who can execute without reacting. Private discipline creates trust with yourself. Each promise kept reinforces self-belief and internal authority. This trust translates outward as confidence that does not require validation. People respond to that confidence because it is rooted in proof rather than performance. When discipline is practiced privately, growth becomes sustainable. You are not driven by the need to impress, so progress is steady instead of rushed. This prevents burnout and protects long-term momentum. Sustainable growth always outperforms short bursts of attention-driven effort. Public victory often demands endurance. Private discipline trains endurance by conditioning you to persist when results are delayed. This patience becomes an advantage when others quit due to lack of immediate recognition. Persistence separates those who finish from those who fade. Private discipline also refines focus. Without distractions, you can identify weaknesses and correct them before exposure. This refinement increases effectiveness and reduces costly errors when performance becomes visible. Preparation absorbs pressure before it reaches the surface. Over time, private discipline reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who does what is required regardless of recognition. That identity naturally produces outcomes that stand strong in public without needing explanation. Results speak louder than announcements because outcomes carry evidence while words only carry intention. Anyone can declare goals, plans, or ambition, but very few can produce measurable proof. When results appear, they remove doubt without argument. Evidence eliminates the need for persuasion because reality confirms what words only suggest. Announcements create expectations, but expectations without delivery weaken credibility. Each time a promise is spoken before it is fulfilled, pressure increases and trust risks erosion. Results, on the other hand, arrive complete. They do not ask for belief in advance, they arrive with confirmation built in. When results lead, respect follows naturally. People respond differently to achievement than they do to intention. Intention invites encouragement, but achievement commands attention. The shift from being supported to being recognized happens the moment proof replaces prediction. Results also protect momentum. Announcements often satisfy the ego prematurely, creating a false sense of progress. This emotional reward can reduce urgency and dilute effort. Waiting to speak until results exist keeps hunger intact and execution sharp. Silence followed by results creates authority. Authority is not claimed, it is granted. When outcomes are visible, explanations become unnecessary. The work establishes credibility long before words are spoken. Results cut through noise. In a world saturated with opinions and promises, tangible outcomes stand out instantly. They simplify judgment and clarify value. No interpretation is required when performance is clear. Announcements invite comparison, but results end comparison. When you produce outcomes, the conversation shifts from potential to performance. Performance cannot be debated without evidence, and evidence carries weight that opinion cannot diminish. Results also create alignment between identity and action. When what you do matches what you desire, confidence strengthens naturally. This confidence is calm and grounded because it rests on proof rather than hope. Waiting for results before speaking develops patience. Patience trains discipline and reinforces long-term thinking. You learn to prioritize completion over recognition, which strengthens consistency and reliability. Over time, letting results speak reshapes how you operate. You become someone who moves quietly, executes thoroughly, and allows outcomes to communicate value without announcement. Integrity is built in isolation because character is revealed when no one is watching. Away from external pressure, applause, or supervision, true standards are tested. The choices made in private expose whether values are conditional or consistent. Integrity begins where accountability is internal rather than enforced. Isolation removes the influence of image. Without an audience, there is no incentive to perform for approval. Decisions are no longer filtered through how they will be perceived, but through whether they are right. This clarity strengthens alignment between belief and behavior. When alone, excuses lose their power. There is no one to convince, no one to impress, and no one to blame. Responsibility becomes unavoidable. This environment forces honesty and builds the habit of owning outcomes rather than explaining them away. Integrity grows through small private decisions. Choosing discipline over comfort, effort over ease, and consistency over convenience strengthens moral muscle. These moments may seem insignificant, but repeated daily, they define reliability. Integrity is not a single act, but a pattern reinforced over time. Isolation also strengthens self-respect. Every promise kept in private reinforces trust with yourself. That trust becomes internal authority, guiding future decisions with confidence. Self-respect built this way cannot be shaken by external opinion. Private integrity sharpens judgment. Without outside influence, you learn to think independently and evaluate choices based on principle rather than popularity. This independence becomes essential when pressure increases and stakes are higher. Clear judgment protects long-term outcomes. Isolation teaches emotional discipline. Without immediate feedback, you learn to regulate impulses internally. Delayed gratification becomes normal, and patience strengthens naturally. Emotional control formed in private carries forward into public situations. Integrity built alone prepares you for visibility. Public pressure often exposes weakness, but private discipline reinforces consistency. When behavior does not change with circumstances, credibility grows automatically. People trust those who remain the same under observation and in solitude. In isolation, standards are either upheld or abandoned. There is no neutral ground. Each private choice either strengthens or weakens internal alignment. Over time, this alignment becomes identity rather than effort. As isolation continues, integrity becomes effortless. Right action no longer requires motivation or supervision. It becomes the default response rooted in habit and self-expectatio. Execution outperforms expression because action creates outcomes while words only create impressions. Expression may sound impressive, but without follow-through, it produces nothing measurable. Progress is built through doing, not declaring. The world responds to results, not explanations. Expression often satisfies the ego before the work is complete. Talking about plans can feel like movement even when no real progress has been made. This premature release of satisfaction weakens urgency and reduces follow-through. Execution denies that false reward and keeps pressure where it belongs. Action clarifies thinking in ways discussion cannot. Problems reveal themselves only when work begins. Execution exposes weaknesses, gaps, and inefficiencies that conversation hides. Real feedback comes from reality, not from dialogue. Execution builds competence. Skills are developed through repetition and application, not articulation. The more you act, the more capable you become. Capability increases confidence naturally without the need for affirmation. Expression invites opinions, but execution creates authority. Opinions can distract, confuse, or discourage. Authority earned through results simplifies decisions and eliminates the need to defend direction. When outcomes are visible, validation becomes irrelevant. Action accelerates learning. Each attempt generates data that refines the next move. This feedback loop strengthens precision and speed. Expression delays learning by substituting analysis for experience. Execution creates momentum. Once movement begins, progress becomes easier to sustain. Momentum reduces resistance and increases consistency. Expression alone rarely produces this effect. Execution also filters priorities. Time spent acting reveals what truly matters and what is not. This clarity sharpens focus and eliminates unnecessary effort. Expression often keeps everything theoretical and unresolved. When execution becomes habitual, discipline replaces motivation. Work continues regardless of mood or circumstance. This reliability separates high performers from those who remain stuck in planning and discussion. Over time, consistent execution reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who talks about possibilities and start seeing yourself as someone who produces tangible outcomes.